My understanding, first of all, is that the FBI did not share with scientists the exact process by which they, quote-unquote, replicated what they're alleging Ivins to have done, i.e. weaponizing anthrax. Second of all, what I've been told by bioweapons experts is that, that anthrax doesn't just grow silica. That's part of the weaponization process, so it can be aerosolized, so it can float around and get into people's lungs.
So you have talked to bioweapon scientists who have told you that, no, silica doesn't grow naturally on anthrax.
No, it doesn't. Yes. Does not grow naturally on anthrax. But my understanding,
Right. To be perfectly clear, you're not a biologist or anything, but you have talked to these guys. You're a reporter, and
yes.
you've done your research on this now.
That's right.
Right. Okay, now, also something that you mentioned in your article is that this guy's work was on vaccines, and apparently there are some of his colleagues there saying this guy would not have known how to do this. And best the FBI can say is, well, maybe he, picked it up at some point or something because he was nearby.
Yeah, well, he apparently did not have the expertise needed to manufacture the type of anthrax that was in the letters. This weaponized, aerosolized, high-grade, highly complex anthrax. And in fact, the bigger question that I bring up in the article is that there's a lot of evidence suggesting that no one at Fort Detrick, and Fort Detrick, of course, has all along been sort of ground zero of the investigation, that no one at Fort Detrick had the capacity to make this incredibly powerful version of anthrax, that it had to have been manufactured somewhere else. Francis Boyle, who I talked to, was a source for the article, he was the author of the Bioweapons Convention Act of 1989. He told me that he thinks it was manufactured at the Dugway Proving Ground. Oh, by the way, that's the Biological Weapons Anti-Terrorism Act of 1989. This is thus Boyle's legislation.
Huh. And what's Proving Ground now? What's it called?
Dugway Proving Ground, which is a highly secret U.S. Army facility, or it might be U.S. Air Force facility in Utah, in the deserts of Utah.
Okay, and continue, please.
So, Boyle and several others who knew Ivins or who were familiar with the work and the labs at Fort Detrick have said, no, this anthrax could not have been produced at Fort Detrick. But again, then we get into a guessing game. I mean, Boyle has suggested that this anthrax was the result of some sort of top secret or classified CIA program that was developing these new strains of anthrax in violation of the very law that he helped author, and in violation of international law. Now, there is some suggestion of evidence pointing to this.
Well, this is a pet peeve of mine, actually, because I remembered this as soon as the anthrax thing broke. I said, wait a minute. I remember there was an article in the New York Times in August of 2001 all about how the Bush administration was starting up this weaponized anthrax program in opposition or in violation or, direct kind of flagrant going around the treaties to the contrary and so forth. And I went back and looked for that thing 100 times, and I never could find it until finally this Bruce Ivins thing came, and some blogger got it right, and the reason I couldn't find it is because it wasn't August. It was September 4th, 2001. Judy Miller in the New York Times.
It was Judy Miller. Wow. Well, she got something right for once. Huh. Yeah.
And then wasn't she a recipient of one of these letters or a bogus letter or something like that?
I think she was a recipient of a bogus letter.
Uh-huh.
I'm not certain.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
But anyway, so that's the article. It's September 4, 2001, New York Times, secret project to create a deadly anthrax strain.
That's right. It says, earlier this year, administration officials said the Pentagon drew up plans to engineer genetically a potentially more potent variant of the bacterium that causes anthrax. So yes, I mean, it was out there on the front pages of the Times that the administration was pursuing some sort of secret program involving anthrax. And lo and behold, 2 months later, suddenly this anthrax is in Congress and in the newsrooms of major media.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny. I just realized today. Oh, today's the 5th. I was thinking today was the 4th. Well, okay, so it's not a coincidence. But yeah, anyway, I found the article here. It's called U.S. Germ Warfare Research Pushes Treaty Limits. It's Judith Miller, Stephen Engelberg, and William Broad.
Right. and in the American Conservative article, I make the point that the BBC reported in 2002 that the CIA may have been, quote unquote, investigating methods of sending anthrax through the mail, and that the program went, quote unquote, madly out of control.
Quite madly if it was high-level Democratic senators, the majority leader of the Senate, who was on the receiving end. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a little more than just a test, but wow. But we don't know anything more about that than the BBC article?
No, we don't. I mean, we just have suggestions of possibilities from sources like Francis Boyle. Mm-hmm. Again, it very easily devolves into the abstractions of conspiracy theory, unfortunately.
Well, I think it's okay to speculate as long as you call your speculation and you don't confuse, reporting with, it looks like it could have been this or that. I think that's still fair to discuss.
Right. Well, there is the bigger issue that in the wake of the anthrax attacks, suddenly quote-unquote, bio-defense funding skyrocketed. And it went up by billions upon billions of dollars. Now, this would not have happened if it weren't for the anthrax attacks. So what Bruce Ivins had complained about was lack of funding for biodefense. Well, that question was suddenly answered. So if you think of motivation here, well, the motivation might have been pretty damn clear. If the attacker was in the biowarfare establishment, then his motivation was money, funding. An increase in funding that has gotten spread out among all sorts of corporations, large and small, that are part of the military-industrial complex.